Alright guys, welcome back to part 2, or welcome to part 2. If you have not seen part 1, I highly suggest that you go and watch that. It really sets the stage for these upcoming videos for part 2, 3, and 4. I really go into detail and lay out the actual plan of this training split. So welcome to the video of the current training split where we actually go into the exercises. So we got day 1, and this is my pull day, aka back, rear delts, and biceps. So bam, there's a back shot. This image is about 2 or 3 years old. I chose to show it because this is when I was a bit leaner and also a little bit full, because some of the leanest pictures that I have are super flat, so I didn't want to show you guys that to embarrass myself. The whole point I'm trying to show here is, guys, I like having a developed back and nice balance. It's almost like a secret weapon, like I was saying in the first video, when you're sizing up the other gym bros and trying to figure out if they actually take this lifting thing seriously or if they're just a bunch of gym bros that just train chest, shoulders, and arms. Having a good set of back and legs is almost like a secret weapon that you have in your back pocket. And this is kind of one of the things that I'm proud of. Like, it takes a lot of time and effort and knowledge really to develop a good back, because you need to hit your back at so many different angles. So you need to know how to train your back, and then you also need to be consistent, just like any other muscle group. So bam, there you go. Appreciate it. I have more muscle than this, and my back is actually quite a lot more developed than this. So I'm really excited when I get down to my level of leanness that's comparable to this picture, to show you guys the improvements that I've made. And I am, if you're following me along in my short series, Eating for Fat Loss, I am currently dieting, so I will get back down to this level of leanness, and I will be able to compare my results and my improvements. So stay tuned for that. Alright, so my primary focus, guys, with my current pull day is really just to bring up my lat width. And to do that, I really got to focus on my vertical pulling. So pulling from top to bottom in a vertical plane, up and down, not side to side, not horizontal pulling for rows, but vertical pulling. And so typically, guys, I really want to improve my pull-ups, but I put recently actually pull downs as my first exercise, because I find that you can't fully warm up properly with pull-ups, and I can get a much better warm up with the pull downs. Granted, I'm still doing it like the same style as training that I'm doing, so I'm still doing a top set on pull downs, so I am technically pre-exhausting myself a little bit, but I just find that once I get a good amount of blood in my lats, I can actually do the pull-ups a little better. Like, they can feel a little bit better, and it's just easier to warm up with pull-downs than it is to start warming up with pull-ups. And I do the assisted machine anyways with pull-ups, so I can still do increase weight and then start decreasing the weight to get closer to body weight for my actual top sets. And that's what I was doing before, but I just find doing pull-downs first is just more beneficial for me. And I tend to feel way more sore in the lats the next day, which really tells me that I hit the muscle group that I'm aiming to hit properly. Whereas before, I never used to feel that sore in my lats, and I'm like, that's probably not the best move to make. I can either do more sets of pull-ups, warm up a little bit more with increased weights, like I said, but I decided to throw the pull downs in there because I just find it's a better kind of pre-exhaustion technique for my pull-ups. Really the key here, guys, is I'm always kind of pulling narrow, and with pull-ups especially, I'm pulling hammer grip, and that's kind of like that neutral grip, as if you're hammering something. And that is because the more narrow you pull, and Dorian Yates said this, and a lot of guys say this, when you pull narrow, you get wide. And yeah, when you pull narrow, you just activate and emphasize your lats more. And of course, I do vary the grips, because I'll go through this quickly in a bit, but I do typically do drop sets after my top sets, sometimes back off sets. And I will vary the grips sometimes on these drop sets just to have some variety, but my main working sets will be with the narrow grip. But if I feel like switching it up here and there, sure, but the main focus is pulling narrow. So I also want to improve my biceps too. So the key, the trick here is you want to throw in a bicep exercise earlier in the workout. And I know it's kind of counterintuitive in the sense that you don't want to exhaust your biceps too much, because then your back exercises won't be as efficient. And that is true. But If you rest enough after the bicep exercise, then your back exercises will be just fine. And the thing that I do is I will typically also rest a little bit, like rest my arms a little bit before I get into the bicep movement. So I typically do pull downs first, then pull ups, and then I'll actually do shrugs after for my third exercise, and then I'll do barbell bicep curls, like shoulder width grip, as my fourth exercise. And this is because the shrugs don't really use your biceps, right? It's just your traps and like stabilizing muscles, I guess, in your forearms. And so in that sense, I'm resting my biceps from the pull-ups and pull-downs, and then I can give a full, basically fresh effort for at least one bicep exercise, and that way I can progressively overload and focus on my biceps as well, and not just save my biceps for the end and just kind of like leave the scraps for the end, so to speak. I can actually have like good quality effort on my biceps. There's just kind of like a hit here, a list of what other exercises I do. So something for the upper back, something for the lower lat kind of region, not quite like lower back as in like hyperextensions and like deadlift lower back kind of region, but like lower lat region, so just a bit above that, and just kind of like below the mid back kind of thing. And then of course bent over laterals for rear delts, and then a hammer curl to make sure I train the brachioradialis. And guys, that's basically when you have your arm here. This is going to be kind of hard, but let me try. So basically here, this muscle group, sorry, this is just a horrible way of trying to show this, but your brachioradialis muscle is this little chunk right here, and it goes up into your brachialis. So this like little slab of meat right here on your forearm, that is what's getting trained when you're doing hammer curls predominantly. So you really want to develop that, because if anything, people really see that muscle a lot when you're wearing a t-shirt. So if you have big brachioradialises, people know that you lift right away. So build those up, and you don't want to neglect the hammer curls because you don't want to have small forearms. You want to at least train everything, right? Going back to having a balanced physique. And then I also add in another bicep curl, and it's really just a rough estimate as to, like, you know, I just threw bicep curl in there because it's just whatever I feel like doing that day I'll do. So if it's a machine, if it's cable, if it's another barbell, if it's dumbbell, whatever it is, just some sort of bicep curl variation just to give extra volume into the biceps and give them some extra work. Also a little side note, I tend to do rest pauses on my rear delt flies, my bent over laterals, I should say. You can call them flies too, it's the same thing. Like I was saying in the first video, guys, and really I encourage you to guys to go back and watch that first video because it really lays the land for these kind of videos. But I do like change it up once in a while. This is my so-called mastermind plan, which is my perfectly balanced plan. But I do switch things up because it gets boring if you do the same things over and over. I'm still giving the best effort that I can for that day, but obviously if you do different exercises, you do different exercise orders, your strength's not going to be necessarily consistent because you're doing things in different orders, and therefore you're going to kind of, in a sense, pre-exhaust yourself for an exercise that you're typically stronger in if you were to do it sooner in the workout. So just keep that in mind. But over time, you should be lifting on average more weight on every exercise, and you should kind of notice that through the course of months. And then eventually you come back to your mastermind plan, and then you should notice an increase in your strength as long as you're not having a bad day, because we have good days and bad days. But as long as your average is increasing and improving, that's all that really matters. Alright, so like I was kind of preluding to before, just a quick reminder, guys, I do low volume, high intensity per body part. I'm aiming for a top set, usually lately with a drop set, and my top set is for 8 to 12 reps, and that's usually to hit failure. Sometimes I do partials after that to go beyond failure. And then what I do is I typically drop the weight just a little bit and I rest for like 10 to 15 seconds, and then I shoot for like half the amount of reps that I got on my top set for a failure set of the drop set. So I'm experiencing for my top set basically 2 moments of failure with the original top set and then also with the drop set. And that drop set just adds extra volume and then extra stimulus in terms of hitting failure again. And then after that, you're pretty much done with that exercise. You can move on. There's not much left else in that exercise. You've milked everything that you can get out of that exercise, so then it's just time to move on. There's that back off set sometimes instead of the drop set, and even sometimes I'll do a drop set from that back off set, which is where you actually rest like 2 to 3 to 4 minutes. When you feel like you're ready and your strength's fully back, you then hit another set of 8 to 12 reps with a lighter weight. Still has to be a little bit lighter, because there's no way you can use the same amount of weight for a true second set of failure with the same amount of weight. That's not possible. You're going to be weakened for that back off set. And then if I want to throw in some extra volume, I might even throw in a drop set with the back off set, and that'd be more for things like lateral raises, not so much for and maybe even like rear delts instead of the rest pauses. Sometimes I'll do an extra drop set, but not so much for other exercises, because typically big sets, big heavy compound movements, you don't need a ton of extra volume for. It's more some of those smaller muscle groups that you just want to throw in a little bit of extra work just to kind of stimulate a little bit more. So this is my mastermind example, guys. So exercise 1, like I said, I start with the lat pull down, and I'm typically pulling narrow. Then I go into pull-ups. Narrow grip again, it's the hammer grip strength. Currently I'm using the support machine, but if you're strong enough to go body weight, which I'm getting pretty close to hitting 8 to 12 reps with the form that I want for body weight. And again, no ego here, just you want to complete the technique properly to failure for the amount of reps that you want to get. So if you need to do certain things to get that, in this case support machine for the pull-ups, then do it, because that's just where you're at right now in your journey. Eventually I'll be using body weight, and then eventually probably even weighted pull-ups, and maybe at that point I'll just warm up with pull-ups and then just try to get stronger at lat pull down. So that might end up being a switch in the mastermind plan, but that's just kind of a part of life. Things change, right? Like I said, I switched to shrugs for the third exercise, and this is to give the arms a break, because then I want to jump into a strong full max intensity top set of barbell curls and actually progress over time with that, so I can build size on my biceps, because I really want to do that as well, because who doesn't want big biceps, let's face it. I just do like a shoulder with grip, guys, so it trains all heads equally, because you got the short head of your bicep and the long head of your bicep. And then I do a one arm dumbbell row, or some sort of row that'll hit the lower lat region. So a barbell bent over row, low row, chest supported, depends what I'm feeling for the day. Lately it's been the one arm dumbbell row though, because it's a nice free weight movement. I can chuck around a lot of weight and just feels really manly to move around those kind of weights. Then I do some sort of an upper back row. It's typically like a chest supported row, and basically at this point of the workout, if I decide to kind of like keep in mind I'm putting in the maximum intensity on my pull-ups and then the bicep curl, and then I'll either try to PR, if it's a good day, on either the lower lat region row or the upper lat, or I shouldn't even say lat, but upper back region row, if that makes sense, because you can't PR on everything every workout every time. It's just not possible. You can't put that much effort into everything. Your neural system needs a break, and like you're just gonna get a headache from squeezing so hard and putting in so much effort. Unless it's a really good day and you can PR on everything, then go for it if it feels good. I just realized, or I can fix that after. No worries, never mind. But yeah, so upper back row. Like I said, if I decided to PR on the one arm dumbbell row, then I won't PR on the upper back row, but I'll still go heavy and I'll still hit failure. But you kind of pick your battles, that day. If I've been PRing a ton on the one arm dumbbell rows, then I'll just switch it up and put more emphasis and intensity on the upper back row. Maybe even I'll do the upper back row before the one arm dumbbell row, or the lower lat region row if it's something different. And then this is where it can also vary up a little bit too, guys. I go into a hammer curl. Sometimes I'll do the dumbbell bent over laterals first before the hammer curls. And that's just to give my biceps a little break after all the rowing. And then I'll just save all the arms for the end. Or I'll do hammer curls, rest enough so it's still a good maximum amount of intensity for hammer curls as best as I can. Because by now my arms are a little bit tired no matter what. And then do the bent over laterals to give the arms a break, and then finish off strong with another bicep movement. So it really just depends. And I like to do rest pauses with my dumbbell bent over laterals, because I find that you just want to feel that burn in your rear delts, because this is the only exercise that directly hits them. And yes, they are secondarily used in quite a bit of rowing exercises, and they will burn quite a bit towards the end. But I just have this thing where I'm like, I'm only hitting them once a week. So what's hitting a couple of extra failure sets with the rest pauses going to do? Like, it's just like the muscle group responds and recovers pretty quickly. I shouldn't say, maybe not say responds, but it recovers pretty quickly. So I don't mind hitting a little bit of extra volume on it. It's not going to tax me like crazy nervous system wise and systemically as doing something like extra sets of like squats to failure. It's a small muscle group. It doesn't matter if you do a little bit of extra volume. It's not a big deal. So I'll tend to do that. So I'll do a top set, then a back off set, and then maybe 2 rest pause sets to failure. So what that would look like is that on the back off set, after resting enough time to be able to do a slightly less weight, but still within my rep range, I'll go to failure. I'll rest for 10 to 15 seconds, keep the weight the same, do another maximum amount of reps to failure, rest for another 10 to 15 seconds, and then do another set of failure, as many reps as possible. And I might keep the weight the same or drop the weight, usually keep it the same, because honestly my top sets right now for dumbbell bent over laterals are 15-pound dumbbells, because I want to make sure that it's only my rear delts doing the work, not my traps. So I'm not afraid to leave the ego at the door and go super light on these. And so my back off sets and rest pauses are with 10-pound dumbbells, because I can't use the 15s for the rep range that I want to do consistently, so I have to drop the weight, and I'm lifting 10-pound dumbbells, and I don't think I want to go any lighter than that, so I just keep it the same and do my rest pauses with that. And keep in mind, I actually up the reps typically a little bit with rear delts. It's more of a 12 to 15 kind of movement for me, but 10 to 15 is fine. I'm typically not doing 8. It's usually at least 10. Again, it's just the nature of that muscle group. I just find that it gets trained a little bit different. And you guys might be thinking like, wow, this is quite the extensive list. But honestly, this workout does not take as long as you think. But this is just the nature of back. And if you want to have a very balanced back and a fully balanced back routine, you're going to need to have a lot of variety, especially on a pull day, because you also need to hit your biceps. You need to hit your brachialis, your brachioradialis. You need to hit your rear delts. There's a lot of different regions of your back, guys. There's a lot of different muscles in your back, your traps, your lats. You got to do so much different stuff. So by nature, you will have a lot of exercises, but with this style of training, the low volume, high intensity, you can get through this workout in just over an hour. Back day is probably one of the longer days, but it is what it is. It's just the nature of having a fully developed back. And remember, we want to have that fully developed back in our back pocket to size up the other gym bros and to know who actually takes this seriously, because everybody can have a good set of chest, arms, and shoulders. But the guys who have the good back and legs, those are the real ones who take lifting seriously. Not that you have to take it seriously, but do whatever you want. It's just nice to know that you got that that development in your back pocket. And it takes a lot of work. It takes knowledge. So hopefully this helps you guys out. And yeah, you can get through it in just over an hour, like an hour and 10 minutes. So it's really not that bad. And you feel really accomplished after, of course. Keep in mind, do your warm-ups. Obviously, you don't have to warm up as much towards the end of the workout because you're already kind of warm. You could do like 1 or 2 just to get the feel. I at least do 1 warm-up set because I want to get the feel of the movement. Even if I'm like down to doing the last set of rows, like the last exercise, let's say I did the 1-arm dumbbell row first and I'm doing the upper back row, I still, even though like I'm towards the end of like the actual back movements, I still want to do 1 set of warm up with the upper back row because I haven't done that upper back row for the entire workout. So I want to get a feel for the exercise. And then since I'm already like pumped and ready to go, I can jump right into a top set pretty much the second set really. Unless I want to do a couple more reps of a little bit heavier weight and then go into my top set. But obviously when you're at the beginning, you need to do like 2, 3, maybe even 4 warm-up sets before you hit your top set. And that's just because you got to get the blood flowing, you got to get things moving. It takes a little bit more at the beginning than towards the end, so just keep that in mind. It's just kind of like common sense. And this doesn't just apply to pull day, it applies to legs and chest, or I should say push day. Make sure you rest enough, guys. You got to put max intensity into that top set and actually hit failure. And remember, hitting failure is just basically a form breakdown, and then you can choose to do laterals partials if you want to, because partials will technically be beyond failure. But once you hit your technical form breakdown just before that, then that's failure. because you still want the muscles to do the work. So when people say like put intensity into your program, go to failure, it doesn't mean start doing cheat reps and going like sloppy and getting injured and stuff like that. It means that for whatever technique, rep range, weight that you choose, you're going to muscular failure. So if my back is failed out, I'm not necessarily, and sometimes I do, will swing a little bit on the pulling motion so that I can have a little bit more, I can milk out a little bit more of the eccentric, because you're stronger on the eccentric. So if I cheat a little bit to bring the weight up, then I can control it a lot on the way down to get a little bit of extra like stimulus. But if my back's going to fail out, like I'm not necessarily going to start swinging like crazy to get extra reps. I've just hit failure, because the technique that I want to allow just my back muscles to do the work and not like throwing in my glutes to like swing the weight up if I'm doing like rows, or to throw in a bunch of other muscle groups. Like I don't want to do that. I want to let my back just do the work. So when my back's hit its failure, then you hit failure. And that last point at the end there is just saying have fun, like mix things up. So you'll have some other days, and I kind of put this in quotation marks because I'm like, oh, other days. And this is really just, variety is the spice of life, guys. You're going to want to like stop being so serious all the time, in the sense that like you have your mastermind plan, you have things perfect, you have the perfectly balanced program, but not every time you're going to want to do this program. Not every time you're going to want to do the same style of like top set training. Not every time you're going to want to do the same rep range, the same form. Like sometimes you're going to want to change it up. Just remember, showing up is such a big part of winning. Any workout is better than no workout. Sometimes I just come in and do whatever I want. If you got the perfect science-based program, which I still think that using science to your advantage is great, but also you shouldn't obsess over something that you cannot be consistent with. Because somebody can have a more perfect routine, but if somebody has a less efficient routine but they execute better, they can have a better physique than you. And let's pretend that genetics are all equal. Like that's just what it is. Like showing up is such a big part of this. So stop being so uptight, honestly. Like just get the work in. If you literally just come in the gym, you do like barbell bent over rows, some pull downs, a little bit of curls with dumbbells, and get out of there, that was better than not showing up for a back workout. So just keep that in mind. So what other days could look like? Like guys, like, man, I just want to hit a PR on barbell rows. All right, I'm going to do that first. Hit a big PR. Okay, my back is fried. My lower back is fried. My arms are fried. Okay, let's take a break. Do some shrugs. And I still want to rip some barbell curls because I want huge arms, and who doesn't? So I do that, and then I'm like, you know what? I still want to focus on that width. I still want to stimulate the lats because that's a weak point for mine, and that's why I want to focus on bringing it up. And also I want to be so wide that I can't fit through doors. So, you know, I don't really feel like doing pull-ups. I'm just going to hit some pull-downs and just kind of fry my back, fry my lats. And you know what? I don't feel like hitting an upper back row. I did shrugs. I did, you know, my barbell bent over rows. So I pretty much covered my entire back. Another time I'll go back to the mastermind plan, and that's enough. Like, whatever. So I am, in a sense, neglecting an area of my back. But it's okay, because I'm eventually going to go back to my mastermind plan and do all of the balanced exercises. Not only that, but sometimes I'll actually not feel like doing a barbell bent over row or a one-arm dumbbell row, and I'll just do an upper back row. I'll just do something chest supported, maybe a little bit of a low row for the lower lat region, but maybe I might even skip it, and therefore I neglected the other region that I didn't neglect before, and everything kind of balances out. And that does happen, guys. Over time, it will happen. Like, you will feel like just training a different area of your back. And even for legs, you might decide to train like a little bit more hamstrings, a little bit more quads another week. And everything kind of balances out. And once again, when you go back to your mastermind plan and everything's fully balanced out, that kind of evens the playing field as well. So yeah, the key is really not to get bored, because you're even beyond this workout split. You're working out for life, so you got to keep this interesting. And I'm showing you guys another back shot here. So a nice little back lat, nice little back double biceps. This is when I was pretty lean a couple of years ago. That's why I wanted to show you guys, because of the level of leanness. Again, when I get lean again, if you're following me, thank you. If you're not, check out my shorts, Eating for Fat Loss. I'm currently dieting right now to get lean again. So I want to get lean just like this. And then I want to compare how much muscle I've gained. And that's going to be a video in the future as well. Like, have I actually made any gains over the past few years? So once I get comparable in leanness, I can actually see if I built any muscle. And I can tell you guys, spoiler alert, I definitely have gained muscle. I'm a lot bigger than I was in the past, and it's because of the huge change in form and also this workout split with the idea, the emphasis on prioritizing recovery. And that's really what this workout split does, is it prioritizes recovery. It allows you to progress more over time and get stronger. It emphasizes good technique, so the muscle that's supposed to do the work is actually doing the work, and it's getting stronger and therefore bigger over time because you're aiming to do failure sets within a proper rep range with good technique. So you're focusing on hypertrophy of that specific muscle. So everything's well thought out because we're at that point where we want to optimize our growth, optimize, and make sure that the time spent in the gym is the best possible that it can be spent. And we don't want to waste our time, because if we're in the gym, we want to get results and we don't want to waste our time, right? So we got to think this through. When you're a beginner, you can kind of do whatever and just kind of get away with gains, but eventually you want to start taking it more seriously. I'm at the point where I've changed my identity to the point where it's like I am somebody that goes to the gym, so I don't have to worry about getting myself to the gym. Now I'm really focusing on optimizing what I do in the gym. So anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. It's part 2. It's my pole day. Stay tuned for the other days. We got legs and we got push to come. So be excited for that. Be on the lookout for that. And I'll catch you guys in the next part. See ya.